All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're tackling a huge debate that's blowing up in the tech world, using AI to write product requirements documents, or PRDs. Is it some kind of productivity miracle, or is it just a recipe for total disaster? We're going to explore how to get from those messy, chaotic prompts to a truly masterful spec.
So let's just kick things off with this gem from a recent online discussion. Wow. It's blunt, it's provocative, and it perfectly captures that deep skepticism a lot of pros are feeling. This idea that AI is just a fancy machine for recycling generic nonsense. But is that really the whole story?
And this really gets to the heart of the matter, right? This is the core dilemma. On one hand, you have people saying AI is this incredible productivity miracle. It's a tool to smash through writer's block and just supercharge development. And then on the other hand, you have folks who see it as this machine that just churns out these vague, soulless documents that are missing that critical human touch.
And look, this isn't just theory. These are direct quotes from product managers and engineers in the wild. The community is totally split down the middle. One camp sees AI as a thinking partner that has exponentially reduced our time. But the other side is just as passionate, saying it generates generic and crappy PRDs and, well, that it's just automating laziness.
Okay, so the battle lines are drawn, but what's actually happening on the ground? Let's peel back all the hype and take a look at the real-world workflows, the clever hacks, and of course, the major headaches that people are dealing with right now.
So probably the most common use case is just to beat that dreaded blank page syndrome. We've all been there. People are doing things like transcribing their stakeholder meetings, dumping in a bunch of unstructured notes, and just asking the AI to spit out a formatted first draft. Like one person said, it often feels easier to correct the AI's bad draft than to write the whole thing yourself from scratch. Others are a bit more surgical, using it to find gaps or hunt for edge cases in their work.
And this quote, this just perfectly captures the biggest headache of them all. It's hilarious, but it's so true. When there's no solid process, you get this ridiculous feedback loop. You've got one AI generating fluff, then another AI trying to summarize that fluff, and the humans are just stuck in the middle. It's not saving time, it's just creating more noise. AI on AI crime, I love it.
So clearly these random hacks and frustrating loops, they're not the answer. We need a better way. And what's really interesting is that a new discipline is starting to emerge from the chaos. One that treats working with AI less like some magical art and more like a formal, repeatable engineering practice.
Check this out. This user's comment just perfectly describes the intuitive process a lot of people are discovering on their own. They're not just asking a vague question. No, they're giving it a template, they're feeding it all the context they can think of, and then, and this is key, they're acting as the verifier, correcting all its mistakes. They're actively steering the AI.
And what's so fascinating is that this intuitive little hack actually has a formal name in academic research. It's called contextualization and personalization. It's the formal practice of giving the AI context, giving it examples, maybe even a persona to adopt. And that's what turns a random guess into a reliable, repeatable result. And this isn't just a one-off idea either. A huge, systematic review of 35 different academic papers on this stuff found that providing context, that's the bar in blue, is the single most dominant strategy in successful studies. And what's number two? Guiding the AI through reasoning and stepwise thinking. The data is crystal clear. Giving the AI guardrails is how you win.
So, how do we take that powerful insight and turn it into something we can actually use? Well, it's all about moving from what the engineering team at GitHub calls vibe coding to a much more rigorous process, spec-driven development.
Vibe coding. Isn't that a perfect term? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when you give an AI a fuzzy, high-level goal, and you get something back that has the right vibe. It looks plausible on the surface, but it's riddled with wrong assumptions, because the poor AI was forced to just guess what you really wanted.
And this all leads to a really, really crucial realization. The goal isn't to find some single magical prompt that solves everything. The real solution is to adopt a better, more structured process. We have to stop treating AI like a magic 8-ball and start treating it like a very literal-minded coworker that needs clear, unambiguous instructions.
So what does this process actually look like? Well, it breaks down into 4 clear phases. First, you, the human, specify the what and the why. The AI then generates a detailed spec around that. Second, you add the technical constraints, and the AI builds a technical plan. Third, the AI breaks that big plan down into small, digestible tasks. And finally, the AI gets to work implementing those tasks one by one, which lets you do a really focused review of small changes.
And this table just lays it all out. The difference is night and day. With the old way, vibe coding, you give it a vague input, the AI has to guess, and you get this big, unreliable mess that turns you into a frustrated debugger. But with the spec-driven approach, your detailed spec lets the AI follow an actual plan, which gives you small, verifiable changes, and your role transforms into a strategic reviewer.
So what does this all mean for the future of building products? Well, the roles are fundamentally changing. Your value is shifting. You're no longer the engine, doing all the grunt work of writing. You're becoming the pilot, the one who steers the entire process.
This quote just nails that shift in mindset. The job isn't the PRD. That's just an artifact, a thing that gets created along the way. The real work is participating in the conversation and helping to steer the project toward the right outcome. The direction is more important than the document.
And this is really the key takeaway from all of this. Your new leverage, your superpower, it doesn't come from writing 100% of a massive document anymore. It comes from writing that critical 10%. The insight, the context, the direction that steers the AI to write the other 90% correctly. Your judgment becomes the most valuable input in the entire system.
So I'll just leave you with this final question to think about. As these AI tools get more and more powerful, is it possible that the most crucial skill of the future isn't writing the code or even the document itself, but instead it's the ability to define the problem and write the spec with absolute, undeniable clarity?